Today we're running you through radio at its best, a local radio promotion that put its drive show front and centre, got national exposure and gave them no less than 45 blisters each.
So what do you think about us walking to Suncorp Stadium next week?
Not good.
Why not?
Because it's going to take a while.
Do you think we can do it?
No.
Now that everyone believed in us
No.
and thought we could do it,
No.
it was time to stop talking the talking and time to start walking the walking.
2 blokes, 100 kilometres, 1 ticket.
This
Is
the
big
walk
to
Suncorp.
Hi and welcome to the Quarter Hour Podcast. I'm your host Liam Renton and today we want to congratulate, elevate and celebrate a great radio promotion. Archie and Bretz have been making noise since they joined Mix FM on the sunny coast about a year ago. No mean feat, replacing a legacy show in Todd and Sammy who'd been on air together for 20 years. These guys work super hard. They throw new ideas out the speakers every day and have just nailed a very cool promotion called The Big Walk to Suncorp. So for context, the boys were offered one single ticket to last week's State of Origin game. They were told the first person to walk from their Maroochydore studios 120 kilometres away and touch the Wally Lewis statue at Suncorp Stadium could have it. So they walked the length of a marathon a day for 3 days in a row, doing their show on the road, racing each other every day. So let's see how it all came about. Archie and Bretz, welcome to the Quarter Hour Podcast.
Liam, good to see you, my friend.
Tell me how you spitball your ideas. Do you have like a traditional planning session?
I would say a lot of our ideas for our biggest story arcs, when we're looking at our show from a 6 months perspective, we're always pretty keen to have at least one stunt a month that's going to be a big noisemaker or something, just something that shows that we're, as we were recently advised to do by Rod Bryce, he said, put your bodies on the line. It's a really good way to win over a new audience. We've obviously come into a market at the Sunshine Coast, taking over from a beloved heritage show like Todd and Sammy. I think we were both pretty aware early that even if they didn't love us, or even if they didn't find us funny, or even if they still missed the show they used to have, we still wanted them to go, at least they're trying really hard. At least they're working hard. For this one, it was like every single station in 2 states is going to be trying to do something around a State of Origin decider. What is something that shows we're willing to go further than anyone else, shows we're willing to put our bodies on the line, and is also, I suppose, so audacious that, yeah, again, even if you're not finding it funny, you're at least finding it impressive.
How then did this one come about? Did it start with the tickets and you reverse engineered it? How did this particular promotion, the big walk to Suncorp, how did it come about?
So everyone kind of assumed that we started with the ticket and worked backwards. I actually knew we had to do something for Origin. Archie had this conversation with Rod Bryce about putting our bodies on the line as a really good way to win people over early. At the moment, Archie and I are in a great position where, I mean, Archie's married, but without kids yet. I'm single. We are sort of in this position that we know is a limited window where we can drop everything and walk to Suncorp Stadium for 3 days. So I think it's like, in terms of finding things that our show can do that other shows can't, not every show in the country does have the ability to just walk to Suncorp for 3 days. So I think I was sitting there thinking, what is one thing we can do that puts our bodies on the line and is something that none of our competitors are going to be able to do? It'll take ages. It's hard, not impossible. And I haven't seen anyone else do it. We're going to get out of the studio. By virtue of that, we're going to get content. Some crazy shit will happen if you're out of the studio for 3 days. I think we both love that kind of radio, that road trip radio, that caravan of courage style radio that we just have fun. These are the stunts where we're like, how is this our job? We get to basically go on a holiday. The why could be that we're battling for this one ticket that we know exists.
Part of like our working relationship is it's very fun when there is an idea that gets planted or the crumb of an idea starts. You just know when someone has got that spark in their eye, you have to run with it. Like the curiosity element, I think, is something that is so understated in radio with audiences when they're sitting in their cars going, is that possible? How long would that take? What will happen to them? And I just think that's such a powerful tool that we still have this. It's the unique part of radio that I love because it's live, anything can happen. And I think that that's something that we love bringing to the audiences as not as often as we can, but certainly as strategically as we can.
What sort of support did you get from the radio station? Because there's a lot of nuts and bolts there. When I saw you on socials, you were both walking alone, and I'm thinking stuff like, who's going to panel your shift in the afternoon? You've got to get production made. You're doing crosses of other shows. Like, there's a lot of boxes to tick from one idea, from one guy saying, we should walk to Suncorp.
That's a good question. Certainly we were given, panel operators was the big one. We needed people like physically in the studios for the 3 days. There was a very big element, like, quite transparently of like, you guys can do this, but there's only so much that we can do. Our content director, Ben, could tell how keen we were. It was, we're going to need to have panel ops. They are going to need to be paid. We're going to need to have budget for booking accommodation. We're going to need budget to buy food along the day. But it was a pretty stripped back support. I think a lot of listeners, I think Bretz would agree, that stopped along the way on the road to provide us with drinks or Powerades or bananas. Even they were a bit like, I think they were expecting like a kind of Tour de France style car that was like 10 minutes behind us, but that truly wasn't the case.
Like it or not, we are still where Sunshine Coast is in that interesting limbo between metro and regional. But I would say, like, we grew up adoring and being influenced by a type of radio that doesn't really exist anymore. And you can throw your hands in the air and cry about that, but it's just a reality. We don't live in a world where Hamish and Andy are going to have a huge team that can help them sail a tall ship to Tasmania, or we don't live in a world where Kyle and Jackie O have 15 producers who are able to help them execute that. It's like, whether you like it or not, we needed to find a way, I suppose, to take what we loved about the radio we grew up on and find a way to do that with less resources. And I think the big walk to Suncorp is a good example of that.
I managed to watch a lot of what you were doing on social media. So even though I could hear you, I was more fascinated by the 500 reels you were putting up a day. I could see where you were. I recognized the street signs. That's a new way of listening, watching it on socials. But does that translate to people then going back to the radio show, do you think?
We've actually received an email from Rod Bryce showing some really exciting stats of how our streaming numbers actually was spiking. There were periods of over the 3 days, especially the climactic day on the Wednesday, where listening figures, like audience-wise on the streaming platforms, were up almost 20%. I don't need to tell you, Liam, or any radio person listening to this podcast, to hear a listener unbaited tell you that they could not get out of the car until they found out if Bretz had arrived. It's really clear that, like, the feedback that you get, we've seen the stats, but also just the amount anecdotally of people saying, oh, I saw this pop up on my socials. I wanted to tap into this. What's going on? And luckily for Bretz and I, we love the craft of storytelling, both on the air, but certainly knowing how important the video aspect of it is as well. And, we were getting back from walking 42 kilometers a day, and we'd be in our Airbnb, and we were then, right, let's do the daily video. Let's collect all of our footage from the day. And it was a real, we're very lucky that we're really, we're best mates and we're co-hosts as well, but we believe in the necessity of what we're doing, and we know that the effort will be worth it at the end of the day.
How did you cope with the physical exhaustion? You've basically walked a marathon a day. You're tired. Your bodies are hurting. You've got blisters. You got to back it up with a live broadcast every day. How did you cope with that?
We didn't cope with it. We were very sore. We tried to do Band-Aids and tape and Vaseline. I don't think there's any way that you can make it comfortable. But now, a few days on from doing it, I'm like, well, the fact that we weren't faking it on the air, the fact that we were genuinely uncomfortable, translated into being actually compelling radio. But in terms of coping with the physical pain, there were no tricks. It just sucked.
For the radio nerds, technically, how did it work? You're in the middle of a remote part of the Bruce Highway, in between the Sunshine Coast and Brisbane. There's dead spots. Technically, how'd you do it?
So 2 ways. We recorded some breaks just on the voice memo app on our iPhones when we had signal that we could email that back to the station. But when we were live, we used the Report It app, to be as live can be. That was logistically hard, knowing we need to somehow be in a signal range, and we were literally in the bush at times.
There's a twist at the end. You both walk 120 Ks. You get to Suncorp. The ticket that you had ends up being a scam. Neither of you go to the game. No one was expecting a twist. Not a bad way to end it.
Not a bad way to end it. And for something real like that to happen, we've had multiple story arcs that have had a twist. Sometimes you can think about how do we... It's like people say, was it scripted? And the answer is no. So they say, so how did you know there was going to be a twist? And again, I just return to it. It's like, if you put yourself in a position where you get out of the studio, you come up with a premise, something will happen. You just have to have that belief, because it's like, it still would have been funny if I went to the game and fell asleep, or it would have been funny if I got that ticket and Queensland got pumped, which they did. So it's like, people are like, oh, but this, because it ended this way, they look at it and they're like, this is the only way it could have ended. But it's like, we would have found a way to make whatever happened funny. You need to put yourself in a position where something wild will happen, and then just make sure you're prepared enough to be able to tell that on air.
I reckon the sign of a really great show is when you back it up the next day. So you've just done 3 marathons, back to back to back. Queensland have lost the Origin. Bretz, you're in a whole world of pain and misery after your team losing. You were on the air the next day. Backing it up's really important, isn't it, for the listeners?
100%. And we had a few people say to us, surely you don't work today. Even some people within the business being like, oh, just take the day off, boys. You've basically worked for 72 hours straight. But I 100% agree, Liam. We're like, if someone saw this on their socials, the big finish, the big twist, and thought, my God, the curiosity factor of, are these boys going to turn up for the next day? We were like, we might potentially have more listeners on that day after than we do at the peak of the actual story arc. So we definitely knew that there is as much curiosity in the stunt as there is in the aftermath, and whether we could back it up. So yeah, we are always very aware that when you have momentum and when people are talking about your story, that's the worst time to take a day off.
And, I remember it so clearly, to quote Hamish and Andy, I remember after Tall Ships and I remember after Caravan of Courage. I mean, Andy was really sick. He was vomiting on that tall ship. They were on air the next day and I wanted to hear, was he okay or was he in hospital? Same with you guys. Are they going to be able to walk? I knew you had blisters for days. And when I saw you on socials walking that studio, I thought, this is the best, because I wanted to hear the update. So congratulations on backing it up. It was a really smart and clever move, but just really cool for the listeners as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think, putting it back through that lens, we always think about what do listeners want, or what are we, what's the purpose of doing the show? And I think that all of them would have wanted to know, I wonder, we know that they both didn't go to the game, but where did they end up watching the game? And there were loads more twists that night as well that happened to us. There was all this other drama, and, we love that personal storytelling type of radio. And, we got there somehow with about half an hour to go before the show starting.
In your eyes, what do you hope, or what do you think the promotion achieved?
I think it certainly achieved, it made noise. I think a quote that many content directors have told me in the past is, when you have the opportunity to join a parade, which is basically like, if you don't have to create an event for yourself and you can go, well, everyone's especially in Queensland and New South Wales, going to be talking about State of Origin, as Brett said earlier, how can we tap into that conversation that everyone's going to be happening right now? We had a great call on the show on the Thursday from a guy who said he was a diehard Maroon, and he said quote, no one in the sunny coast cared about the result of the game. We just cared if the Queenslander won the race to Suncorp first. So I think we really created noise, and got people talking about radio and powerful storytelling, and we've received many wonderful notes from the community and the listeners about people, again, not being able to turn off, wanting to know where we were. And I think what we've achieved is we've reinforced the importance and the cool role of radio, that you can still do these things. And I personally just hope that anyone who watches this, wherever you're working in radio, it's been a pretty tough couple of years and we're seeing layoffs and stuff, but I hope that it inspires anyone to go this. The real truth about this is there was so little time between idea and execution, and sometimes that can be the best stuff, because Bretz and I have spent months getting ready for story arcs in the past where we try to plan every single little detail, but it's always the simple idea that gets off the ground the quickest. It always seems to connect quickly. So yeah,
Before I let you go, what's coming up? Give us a teaser. What's one of those great ideas that you've got on the whiteboard that, like, we're going to roll this one out soon, or can you not say?
One that is hilarious. The Sunshine Coast Marathon is not far away, and we had a big story idea around, can you run a marathon in a pair of thongs? Would one pair of thongs survive an entire marathon, like the marathon? And we sat down and we were like, oh my God, are we going to have to run a marathon in 3 weeks after we've just done this entire physical arc about walking? So that one is TBC. But very funny that one is on the board. But you know what's funny, Liam, in terms of like what I would take away from this promotion is like, if there were 3 things, it's like, I would say, and this will probably be the process that we will put forward as we go forward. It's like, get out of the studio because something will happen. Stories don't have to be contained to one day. So many people in radio have commented, gosh, it was cool having something that felt like it had sequels and continued. So don't just narrow it to one day. The listeners, we learned, will come with us across 3 days or more. And finally, Archie touched on it earlier, but I think it's the best one. It's like, if your co-host has that sparkle in their eye or the glimmer in the eye, even if you're not 100% certain of the idea yet or 100% across it, trust the sparkle in your co-host's eye, because if they're excited about it, you can bet you're going to get excited about it along the way. It's the impossible thing to manufacture, is that genuine excitement about bringing something to the listeners.
You just got to get on board and trust each other's guts. And, you know, when I know, like, you know, I'm very lucky I work with a guy whose radio brain is second to none. So you just, if you've got that trust in your co-host, then you can't go wrong.
Well, guys, we love to congratulate, elevate, and celebrate great radio ideas. You guys delivered on that. It was fun. I could watch it. I listened to it. It was exciting. There was drama. It was just fantastic. Congratulations on bringing great radio back. It was really good.
Thank you, mate. We appreciate it. And,
thanks, Liam. Thank you, man.
And also thank you, Liam, because you did live on the journey, and you did bring us salad rolls. So thank you for supplying us with that.
I did have an argument with you over text where you wanted just a bread roll, and I said, "You sure you don't want some salad and ham in there, man? Like, just bread alone." I had to push the point. You needed some sustenance.
I walked 110 kilometers, and you're asking me for my food order. I was delusional.
Archie and Bretz, you guys are doing such a good job. Thank you for joining us on the Quarter Hour podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us, mate.